Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you can take your company to the next level. I have on my guy, Mike Grandjean, for the show today. I met Mike so randomly one time. Mike had some deal going on and he needed somebody to draft the loan documents on a Sunday. The deal was happening the next day, and I had no idea who Mike even was. All I knew his name was Mike Grandjean. He was from Texas and he had something going on. And I met Mike, we connected, we sat down, and I got to learn so much about Mike. Mike is from Texas. He does the private lending, the Fannie Mae, all the stuff on the lending side. But more importantly, when I met Mike, I could tell he had this leadership role. Mike had this way that he conveyed himself as, let's change things up. Let's shake the tree. Let's make things happen. How do we do it? How do we get it going? Let's do it, man. How do we make it happen? And I love that about Mike. And every time I see him, he's got a big smile. I got a big smile. And every time I see him, it's a great time. So Mike, thank you so much for being on with me, and welcome to the show.
Man, I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me, counselor. You know, I love anytime you and I get together, we have a good time, and gee, life's too short not to. So I really appreciate it. I cannot believe that you remember me contacting you on a Sunday. What was even more wild was you responding on a Sunday.
Oh, I remember that. I remember one investor was like, hey, Mike's got something going on. I'm like, who's this Mike guy? It's like, there's football on or something. I'm like, I got to call this guy back. I mean, that's the kind of person I am, so what's going on? And from there, it's history. So
Yep.
I'm so happy I have you on here, Mike. And like I was saying, even backstage with you, Mike, when I was at the JAX REIA meeting on Thursday, and then I heard them announce the board of directors for JAX REIA, I knew you were on the board. But then when they said Mike Grandjean, president now of JAX REIA, I mean, I was like, wait a second, this changes everything. I have to have Mike on the show because I knew you had that leader persona. I knew you had that ability to step up to the plate. I think you had gone back to Texas for a little bit, but then you got the family. They came here. They're in Jacksonville. Tell us a little bit about Mike Grandjean, what you were doing before Florida, and now what are you doing? And we'll dive into the leadership of JAX REIA and the revamping of an organization that has been around for almost 30 years or 30 years plus, and how it has been rejuvenated more than ever. And we're going to dive into that. So tell us, Mike, what's your story?
Well, I'll try to make it as brief because if I don't, people will go narcoleptic on us. They'll fall asleep. But I've been in the mortgage lending space since 1992. So what is that? 28 years of lending. That's a long time. So you can tell by the gray. But I lived and worked in 3 different regions, from Phoenix, Arizona to Orlando, and then Houston, of course. In Houston, so if almost exclusively in 2013, I started focusing my business on investor lending space, which meant hard money, which meant the permanent financing for investors, and have a small private investment group. I'm blessed to have a group of guys that were able to put together some money, and we were able to lend privately. In Texas, a little bit different. We were able to leverage that money. I don't want to get into too much detail, but we were looking for a second market to expand our operation into. Thankfully, one of the main benefactor of our private fund, very familiar with Jacksonville. His parents, his grandparents grew up here. He still has a condo on the beach, which I know, don't cry for me, because that's where I got to live while we were commuting back and forth. It really was terrible, I have to say. But when we came to Jacksonville, we met with a lot of movers and shakers. Glenn Conley really set us up. We met with Kyle and Pat. We met with guys from Yellowbird. We met Clay Jones. We met several people. I'll do a disservice, but what's that?
These are big names that you're talking.
Yeah, what was nice about it was impactful from a standpoint. Yeah, Alex Rose, all those people. I know I'm going to forget people, but what was impactful was being able to come into this market and interview those people in a really low-key environment to say, hey, we're a lender. This is what we do. Is there a need for what we do in this market? Do you have other outlets? And what we found was that our product really fit this space very well. And so we made the decision to come to Jacksonville. After I got here, I decided we're moving here full time.
Right.
So Having lived in Houston, you guys in Jacksonville, you call this traffic. I laugh at you because there is no such thing as traffic in Jacksonville. I think the slowest I've had to go in a rush hour traffic was 35 miles an hour. So I laugh at that.
I'm from Miami, Mike, so I can definitely relate to that. Traffic on from the I-95. Well, I forgot a lot about Miami already, but there's an intersection near 75 and 95, and once you get past that, you're not getting anywhere for about 2 hours. So then I'm here for 2 years, and yesterday I'm complaining about how crazy it is and busy it is. So I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's funny. I still laugh. So anyway, my wife was a teacher. She decided that she wanted to live on a real beach, not a Texas Gulf beach. And so, we decided to pack up the family and move to Beverly, right? So we came to Jacksonville Beach, and we've been loving it ever since. But Jacksonville is unique. It reminds me of Houston probably 15 or 20 years ago in many senses of looking at the real estate market and how things work. Love the employment base. There were just a lot of things to love about Jacksonville. So, it's a big city with a small town feel, which that's awesome. So we've loved it. Our business took off. And then, of course, we were funding probably about $4.5 million in hard money loans as of March. And then COVID hit. And obviously that changed a lot for everybody. But we're back in business. We've been back in business, and we're coming out with new and exciting things as we go into 2021. So, I also flip properties. I also buy to have ownership in rental property. So I kind of do it all, which I guess a lot of people might say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but I'm pretty good at the lending side for sure.
Oh, you are. I mean, I think there was a night when during COVID, we had to do all the webinars, remote, but you and I showed up at the JAX REIA office, and you were busy and doing all the loan stuff. You're like, I got to call here. I got to call here. You are the loan master when it comes to this stuff.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I wish I was as good at lending as you were in probate. How about I say it that way?
I don't know what to say. It's a totally different world, right? But, Mike, when you came to Jacksonville, I think you not only realized that the market was good real estate wise, but the community that we have here, the kind of people, I just feel like it's just such a warming environment, right? Because, I come from Miami, fast paced. There's a shiny new object every minute.
Sure.
Everybody's on to something different. And there's so many groups down there and chambers, but then you come up here and it's like, it's almost like find a family, right? Like the Yellowbird group, the JAX REIA group. People want to do business. People want to do deals. Everybody's welcoming. Yeah. Is that how you felt when you came here? And that was also a deciding factor to be in Jacksonville?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Consider again, I've been in 3 different markets. And so I've had the opportunity to operate in 3 different markets. And Jacksonville, I think warming is probably the best word that you could use other than welcoming, from a standpoint of the people that are out there operating. Let's say in Houston, if we wanted to try and have that discovery luncheon with the movers and shakers, it would have been virtually impossible because everybody kind of protects their castle. They put their arms around it and they're like, if I share anything, I might be giving up the keys to the castle. And I didn't find that environment in Jacksonville, particularly the JAX REIA as well. And the people, you look at Kyle and Pat from Yellowbird, and interestingly enough, they were part of JAX REIA before, Yellowbird, the genesis of Yellowbird. That was years ago. But I think everybody kind of starts at JAX REIA, and we might be jumping ahead, but we want everybody to stay with JAX REIA. So
we're heading there. We're getting.
Fine. I didn't mean to jump the gun.
We're getting to all the selling points of it, right? So you came from Texas. Now you're here full time. You're here. Yes. When was the first time you went to the JAX REIA meeting, or was it a quick starter masterclass that you knew you are in a new realm? You are part of an organization you want to be involved in. When was that?
I'll give you some props. So I attended JAX REIA because it's all about networking, right? I'm an old school guy. I like to be face to face and chest to chest. Not that there isn't a time and a place for email and text messages and those kind of things, but I'm just old school. So I like to talk with people and be face to face. And so JAX REIA gave me that opportunity. So I literally attended as many meetings as I could find, not just from JAX REIA, but all the different groups that were meeting around, Yellowbird included. And I think I'm going to flatter you a little bit and say, when I walked into a class that you were providing at JAX REIA, in our classroom that seats about 50 people, and I mean we had people lined up out the door, down the hallways. Great. I think people were sitting in the bathroom to hear you talk.
They were, I think.
That's how much they wanted to hear, Al Nicoletti. But the volume of information that was provided at that meeting and the networking that you could observe that was going on, that was kind of one of those things. It was an aha moment of this is a place that has something unique and special. It was great. So, and I, like I said, I've been attending it as many times as I could.
I think that night, that was the first time I had ever done like a probate seminar. And it was the first time I was like, everybody was like, what's going on in the probate world? And I think there were 90 people that came. And because of that, the air conditioner broke and everybody was fanning themselves, right? Yeah, it got really hot after a while. Yeah. So yeah, no, I appreciate that, Mike, because, one of the things that I brought from Miami was, knowledge about some of this stuff, but I also envisioned the education and the content. Sure. And not just the I'm a lawyer thing. I just, it's just education. So it's interesting that you got to see that, because I think JAX REIA wanted that. They needed it too. And so from that moment and some of the other meetings, what did you see because now you're president of JAX REIA, but what was your vision about all of this stuff as you went to more and more? You obviously were aspiring to get to a change, because you are that guy. You want to shake the tree and make things happen. So what was the catalyst to okay, we need, and you're going to tell us about the JAX REIA history. So we have to hear that, because you just heard about it the other day, right? So sure. What was that catalyst? You're like, something's got to change here. Things got to get moving. And people want to know about that.
Yeah. So what I do is I go back, Jim Tuttle, they were going to do, and this actually precedes the 2000. So this is the end of 2019. So I guess, boy, we've been here almost, 19 or 20 months. So, having attended all the meetings and been around, there was an election coming up in November of last year, and Jim Tuttle approached me and just said, "Hey, would you consider being on the board?" And my reply to him was, "You guys may not want me, because I'm going to give you really honest feedback." He goes, "That's what we need. We need that attitude, or that general attitude." So I agreed to do it and served on the board this past year as a secretary. And I forgot the question already, but what I'll tell you is this board, so COVID hit, obviously throws a wrench into the game plan for how you operate normally. We had to pivot like everybody else. We did a lot of online content. A lot of it was old or not updated and needed to be, but we still provided it, right? But what I would tell you about this board, and I give everybody on this board a lot of credit for, having an open mind to receive the feedback about the fact that we do need to change. There was great positive feedback about, years and years and years. I think if you walked out and asked people, JAX REIA was the great place to start and learn in the first 4 to 6 months and get as much education as you could about investing in real estate. But then after that, then what? It was like, well, then you don't need it anymore. That was kind of a general consensus. And that's not at all, how we want to be known as an organization, first and foremost. I mean, we want to provide relevance from day one through year 20, right. In that regard. So I don't know if that answered the question actually, but.
Well, no, that brought up some interesting points, because I think even Gonzalo Corzo was at the, he got up to do his success stories, which was definitely a new theme. Yes. At the REIA for a Thursday, and the DJ, which was really interesting too. That added a theme to it. Everybody's having a ball. It was almost like a gala, But I think he got up there and he said when he first started doing real estate, the REIA was where he started, and everything fell from there. And you're right when you say those words of everybody starts there, and then it's then what? And I'm sure we'll dive into the new programs. I mean, there were some crazy good programs you're telling me about. But in your mind, you're thinking, how do you fix that, right? Because so many people out there either want to start groups or they want to start either mini
Sure.
groups and stuff. And it's like,
Yep.
you always start it, but how do you make that continuity and finish and keep it driving? How do you change things? It's almost like a relationship, right? Things got to keep changing and tweaking. If it's the same old, then things fall apart. But if you keep maneuvering things, things get better. So what are some of those things that you were thinking in your mind that can help move things forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main question you're looking at is what do we do to remain relevant today? Not just to a new audience or a new real estate investor, but to somebody who has experience. And so answering that question kind of broadly. So, I mean, take a look around. I think a lot of people, and I may get in trouble for saying this, but a lot of people in our board would feel like Yellowbird was a competitor when that's really not the case. They don't compete with JAX REIA. They just provide a different networking forum and a different level of education, right? So we looked around at people like Yellowbird. We looked around at people like Lifestyles Unlimited out of Houston, that, very successful organization in terms of teaching people how to, retire from the rat race, those kinds of things. So, I mean, I have to be honest, change is nothing new. I think I'm probably a change agent just because I've had change occur so many times in my life. But I think to remain relevant, you got to look outside your box and see what is it that people need. And you have to talk to people too. You have to understand in dealing with somebody who's new, their needs are different than, say, a Glenn Conley or a Gonzalo or an Obie Dorsey or a Clay Jones or any of those people, right? So they all have different needs. So it really boils down to how do we provide relevance and maybe solve some of those issues for the entire spectrum of people that are investing in real estate. I don't want to say we want to be all things to all people, but essentially it's almost like saying that, isn't it? I mean,
Did you go out and ask some of these big names what they thought? Did you get their take on how do we get better, or what are you looking for, or what do you
absolutely.
need? What are your needs that we can service and help you educate and beyond?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And again, that's kind of cool, is that this community would share their feedback, and not because I don't think they view it as a competitive environment, but something that a rising tide lifts all boats. So yes, we at least I know I had several conversations with people about exactly that topic, and the feedback that we got was eye-opening. As I told you before, you can't call my baby ugly, which means hit me between the eyes. I honest feedback is the most important thing that you can ever get. And so we talk to our members, we talk to people at our meetings. One of the things that I think we haven't been really good at, but we're going to be, is, getting feedback from each meeting, right? From each educational component that we provide. Are we hitting the mark? Are we missing it? And if we're missing it, how? What needs to be added, or what needs to be brought into the equation to keep it relevant for people? Let's face it, relevance for somebody who's an experienced operator is going to be a lot different than somebody who's brand new. But no matter what you do, everybody needs to expand their network, and everybody needs to expand, their ability to get a problem solved in real estate. That's essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah, and it's amazing when I hear you say all these things. I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but it's almost like all of the COVID in 2020 really actually helped and is helping move JAXREIA in a new direction, especially with the whole community, because where it was in 2019 was quick start masterclass, main meeting, quick start masterclass, Al Nicoletti boot camp, quick start masterclass, all of a sudden something crazy, right? But then this whole 2020 happened, and it really shed a light on what was lacking. And I think what was lacking was the pizzazz, like even the DJ, that was really cool, but like the pizzazz to things. I know now you're gonna be like, turn that DJ thing up now. Al likes it. We're going up. That's his need.
You're just adding a DJ to our meeting. Okay.
He's gonna be at the boot camp next time that happens.
Yeah.
But basically, what you're saying is just there was a whole revamp, and we want to hear these things, because if anybody out there is now coming into the Jacksonville market, or maybe they could be in Orlando, maybe investing, but they want to tap into this educational market, because Jacksonville is so unique. Miami had its RIAs and they have their stuff, but I mean, Yellowbird, REIF, and then you have Dom and G with the People's Wholesalers, which is education in itself every Tuesday night, and so many things out there. Now you have the RIA revamping. Tell us about the revamp of the website and the curriculum, because the website's now going to have new features in it that it didn't before, or we couldn't get in it, right? Like we could log in and it was like error, wouldn't compute. And you're gonna take that away, but talk to us about the revamp, because we want to know why is JAX REIA back, and tell us JAX REIA is back, but tell us what those new things are.
Well, first I'll correct you and say JAX REIA never left the building. We just stood in the corner for a while, and now we're coming back to the dance floor. But by the way, you don't want to see me dance, so we'll just leave it. So, but yeah, there's a lot. The website is one thing. There's several moving parts. So this board really, I mean, a normal board meets once a month under, the current organization or under the previous organization. We were meeting once a week for 2, 3, and 4 hours at a time, getting through this whole idea of, what are we going to do to bring relevance into our organization and change what we're doing. So I'll talk a little bit about the old, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the new. So, I think the first thing that you have to understand, we're a nonprofit organization. So unlike Yellowbird, right, who can throw an event that they do, and I don't think that there's anything wrong, they're generating business, which is going to benefit the bottom line. We don't operate that way as an organization. We're a nonprofit organization. So, we don't have an event that we can benefit from, doing a wholesale deal or, picking up a flip or that kind of thing. So I think first and foremost, you have to understand that in order to keep our organization alive and well, we do have to generate revenue, okay? So that we can continue to produce the content, produce these things that we need to do. Having said that, membership is the number one way that we do that. And in the past, we've gone, I would say, you had people that joined for a year and then they would lapse. They wouldn't continue that membership. So our first hope was, how do we capture and make this kind of an event or a place that is absolutely something that everybody needs to be a part of? So that means taking a page out of the Yellow Book page. It means taking a page out of what Gonzalo's doing. It means taking a page out of what's happening at Lifestyles. And it means upping our game too, because within our organization, I think when everybody took stock, we realized we have a lot of expertise, right?
Right.
I mean, you look around at some of the people. I mean, look at Stephen Carter. Stephen Carter has helped launch people like Obie Dorsey and other people when they were members of JAX REIA, and they took Stephen to lunch and he laid out what he was doing. So you look at Steve Potash, who's in student housing, and some of the success stories you've heard. John Fears, Nazreen has been investing. So there's a lot of expertise that sits not just in the boardroom, but within the membership. And so number one was we really needed to tap the freshness of that expertise and put that out in the marketplace. The other thing I'll tell you too, our corporate sponsors, man, look, a guy like Al Nicoletti is a corporate sponsor. I mean, do you think that I could create a class on probate that would be relevant for a JAX REIA member? The answer to that is, hell no, right? But Al Nicoletti can. And so we want our corporate sponsors involved more. We want more content from you guys that are, or y'all to be vernacularly correct, that are on the streets, pounding the streets, feet on the streets, doing the work that's relevant and what it means. Because I'm sure things can change on a dime. In terms of how it affects a real estate investor and what they do. And that education is relevant, right? So we want to create a website that's a resource for people, as I call it a one-stop shop, but it can't live without website, right? So if you want to learn Al Nicoletti and probate, but you can't come to the class, we want to have that, as a video library that people can download and look at every day like you can on YouTube. I mean, again, I told you I'm an old school guy. So you look around and you see, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram. I use none of those things, but I need to learn, right?
Mike, what you're kind of getting after is what was happening for so long with the REIA was you come in, you sign up, you pay, you be there, and then there was really no other resource or online thing to look at. I mean, yeah, you had the Facebook
Yeah.
page, but now that George has been, really going live on for the main meetings, but you really never had an ability for the education portfolio. And now you're coming in, bringing these ideas of, look, we got to take it online. We got to take it to social media. We got to go to Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. And now, even with the education about clips, maybe it's me doing probate or quiet title or tax deeds or whatever. And now having a library. And, now that I'm thinking about it, what's interesting is corporate sponsors, even if they have their own content page, right? Like eventually I'll have my own content page. It's almost like linked in there. It's like, hey, this is a corporate sponsor. You check them out, right?
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Well, I mean, you probably know better than anybody. When you were a corporate sponsor and you looked at our website, well, we listed your name, and there was probably a link and a phone number and an email address. But you've probably noticed one of the first changes is we've proactively done now a commercial, right? And we've enlisted you in terms of putting out a commercial so that people can see you. It's almost like they can touch you even though they can't. But that's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That commercial is going to be listed on the website with your content. So yeah, we want to actively engage the experts from the community. That means our corporate sponsors. And so there needs to be more engagement from y'all in terms of, again, the street level view, but more access for our membership to those pieces of content, repurpose it, whatever. So we want to capture everything that we're doing online, and we want it available as a resource that people can use as a self-study course. That's touching the tip of the iceberg. I'll kind of get back when we talk about the website. So our desire with this website, so you'll have, obviously we'll have the standard stuff. So you can sign up for your membership. You can get your events, kind of like how cool your system was in terms of all of the automation. We're trying to build automation in our system so that we can do more as an organization. So that's things like the events, the calendars, the basic stuff, the membership and things of that nature. But then in addition, as we build this website out, so we're going to have the video content in the library, we're revamping the curriculum. We want to have a relevant marketplace, and a marketplace that actually has, two paths or two directions, right? A marketplace that, similar, you look at Yellowbird's Facebook and I see people put listings up there. We want to have a place that, if you're a wholesaler, we're going to increase your buyers list by just having one place that you can market your properties. If you're brand new and you don't have a buyer's list, you'll have a place that you can list your properties, and hopefully we'll create a relevant marketplace that buyers and sellers and everybody can go in, and our corporate sponsors benefit from it as well, right? So say a listing says probate needed. Well, guess what? That should be coming to Al, and they say, I need a loan. Well, DLP, we've got all these corporate sponsors that do these things. And so our goal is to take all the excuses away, take all of the hurdles away for somebody to take action in their business, right? And that's part of it. The other marketplace is actually, we want to create a true marketplace of private lending opportunity, right? Because you marry up these people that have their self-directed IRAs, they don't know how to necessarily deploy them. Well, we want to create a space where people can do those kinds of things all on our website, right? All through the website, through networking and being a part of the JAX REIA and what we're trying to do going forward, okay?
Basically giving people more opportunities to play in the JAX REIA avenue and the market. It's just another avenue for people to connect, rather than it just being, hey, sign up for this, hey, sign up for this, be a member. Now that you're a member, show up at the meetings. And I really like that, Mike, that you thought about that, because if JAX REIA looks at it as, we're not just thinking JAX REIA, we're thinking, how does everybody play behind the scenes? JAX REIA is still there, so the image and the brand is still in play, and they'll think, oh, that's right, that's where this is happening, that's where we got to go. And that's a fresh new idea that you have brought. Let me back up just a second. So the education's amazing. Now you have also for the private lending, which a lot of people always ask on the Facebook pages. They're always asking who's a good private lender. They use all these words that if I started using the word, you're just going to laugh at me, like LTV and ROI. I don't even know if those are words that are used, but
They are.
Talk to us now also about the revamped curriculum, that it's not just the website stuff, but now, more master classes, more quick start.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's not goal setting 101 or it's not goal setting 102. It's going to be big stuff that people want and need that you've tapped into and asked them, what is the revamp curriculum that JAXREIA is going to bring?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we continue to work on it so that, I mean, it's going to be a work in progress as we go. So we'll be seeking feedback, but I'll start with this. Probably the very first thing, and this is going to speak more to new membership than it will to somebody who is, an experienced vet. It starts with a new membership orientation. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're going to have our main meeting on the Thursday, the 21st of January. On the 23rd, on that Saturday, if somebody is a new member in the month of January, we're going to do about a half-day class that's just geared for a brand new member. And it's going to give them a high level view because, a lot of times what you find is a deer in the headlight looks, right? We throw so much stuff at somebody about how do you invest in real estate? Well, we throw a lot of information out, but we don't throw a lot of questions back or give people a lot of feedback in terms of, what does it mean to wholesale? What does it mean to flip? What does it mean, to do new construction or those kinds of things? So we're going to give a high level view to start that says, okay, there's 17 or probably more, ways to make money investing in real estate. Let's give you a 10,000 foot view of what each of those categories may look like. Then let's get into a class about where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? How much time do you have? How much resource do you have? In order to say, this is where you want to invest. Where are your gifts? I mean, are you going to be okay to sit across the table from a distressed seller, or are you better dealing with a contractor? Those kinds of things, right? So, you're talking about personality traits and things. It seems like it's going real deep, but we're going to get into ideas of here are the tools of the trade. From a technology standpoint, you need to focus on these types of things to help you do due diligence. And then from there, we're going to get into, basically say, hey, kind of choose your path. Where do you want to start in this? It doesn't preclude you from, if I'm going to start with wholesaling, it doesn't preclude me from being a flipper or from gaining access to that. But the real point of this is you give us the feedback and tell us where you want to start. And then we're going to custom tailor the education or the curriculum that you need to get going in the first 100 days of investing in real estate, right? So, for example, somebody who's a buy and hold investor, they're not necessarily as interested in learning how to wholesale. They might be down the road, but so that's part of the idea, is to custom tailor some curriculum. And then the other thing I think it's kind of cool with those people is that we want to stay with them as they develop, right? So maybe before each monthly meeting, we'll meet with the new folks, in kind of a small mastermind group, see how their progress is going. Are they getting, what they need, those kinds of things. And so it's more custom tailored in terms of trying to help people take that first step and take action. So that speaks to the newbie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. It's a new way of what JAXREIA is doing. And it almost sounds like it's not this broad group anymore, right? This just come and just meet and then that's it, right? It's not like hey, what do you do? Hey, here's your card. Now it's almost like curtailing what they want and they need, making those areas fit them when they come in here. Do they want to do flipping? Do they want to do wholesaling? Like you said, I mean, it's almost like find your niche, but we have that ability to put you in those spots that you want to do. It's what you want, but you tell us at the same time, right? So anybody out there new or seasoned, and Mike's going to talk about season now, but anybody that is really thinking about what they want to do when they join the group, because you're going to get things back from being a part of it, but give the feedback back to JAXREIA so they know, how do we tweak this? What are you looking for?
Oh yeah,
a new era is in, right, Mike?
Absolutely. We don't profess to know it all, right? We're just trying to make the best damn REIA that we can make. That's kind of the goal, right? And I think every one of our board members is behind that. So, yeah, 100%. What I would tell you, so some people might get mad at me if I said we were going to lose the Quick Start name. There's some things that you just can't change overnight. People hold on to, but kind of the charge behind it was, for those Tuesday webinars, for the things that are quick start, for the things that are going to be put out on webinars that might be a repeating type of menu, is that we want to find common ground between all of these ways to invest in real estate that, you know, are relevant to a flipper, a wholesaler, a buy, hold, invest, and develop our content around that for those Tuesday night type of webinars, so that you don't lose out by coming to that webinar, but you're not going to need to come back and repeat that webinar over and over and over and over, right? So there will be some repeating loops, just because you can't avoid that as you bring new members in. But, you know, it won't be one of those things where, gee, you feel like you have to attend every class. You'll have a custom pack, right? There'll be some self-paced training, right? Through the webinars, through videos and things that we do online. So that's our goal. Sorry, you just heard from Abigail too.
And I think Abigail's really excited about where this is headed too.
Abigail's pumped up, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure. So now that you have the curriculum, you're gonna. It's almost like it's a specialized, unique system that you're gonna help people with. Of course, it's not Yellowbird. Yellowbird's like that. It's amazing. It's a huge community. It's huge, and everybody's always looking for the new things happening, and they bring a lot of big people on. But it's almost like the REIA is the education part when it comes to this stuff. So now that you got new meetings, I like what you were talking about backstage with case studies that you're going to be doing. People can be more hands-on. What is that referring to? Like, how are people going to be more hands-on? Is it going to be almost like you going to the house and showing the rehab and saying, here, you do this, you hold the drill? Or is it going to be, let's work together. We're all going to go after this one property. Sure, we'll split it, but we're all going to be part of the experience. What's the hands-on culture you're going to develop?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. You're really jumping me into the master classes or the academies. And so, you know, one of the things that's been really successful for JAX REIA for a number of years is what they call the bus tour. Every year they'd put on kind of a class about hard money lending, about permanent lending, and then they'd go out and tour properties and look at scopes of work and that kind of thing. Well, and coincidentally, Lifestyles Unlimited does that every month out of Houston, where they do kind of a caravan or a tailgate, whatever you want to say. But one of the things, you know, rather than doing that once a year, and I've been a part of I'll tell you, the genesis was, I took a class from a gentleman on how to build a brand new custom house. And we were involved in this class from the ground up, from picking the lot to designing it, to going through the permit process, to going through the takeout, what was our material list, to the financing, to the exit, blah, blah, blah. We met once a month on a Saturday, and many times we would meet on the site, right? It was hands-on learning. We would meet at a restaurant, but it was, you know, probably 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday that we would meet. Now, I don't know if we need to meet for 4 or 5 hours on every Saturday, but what the point is, the hands-on learning is, I think, you know, we all learn in different ways. We learn, you know, the audio, the kinesthetic, the people that, the visual. And the point of this is to give people a hands-on opportunity, but more importantly, it's to enlist the operators that are doing it in our market very well, right? The Glenn Conleys of the world, and Glenn may or may not know that, so if he sees this.
All right, Glenn, you got the shout out. There you go.
Glenn, I'm going to be calling you. But, you know, people like Clay Jones and their property management, or people like Kyle in terms of how they flip, or, you know, people like JWB in building new houses. So the idea or intent behind this is we want to enlist those operators and have small groups of people that can take that class from soup to nuts, start to finish, from acquiring a property to walking it, to understanding how to develop a scope of work, to how to, you know, develop how to work with the contractor. Is there financing involved? How does that play in? All the way through disposition, whether I'm refinancing it into a rental or I'm selling it. And so what we're calling those are our academies. The board is, as I told you before, right? We're a nonprofit, but we have to keep our doors open. So we're looking for, and so the curriculums are somewhat outlined, but we'll be working with the operators, and there'll be a fee for those kinds of classes because we'll provide the classroom and some other things. But JAX REIA won't get anything out of that other than the fee income that we earn by putting on that class and developing, you know, that curriculum. So we're excited about those. We want to do those once a quarter in categories like flipping and buying and landlording and building new construction I mean, think about all the classes. We had Michael McKay on, an operator from New Jersey, on Airbnb. Now, first vision in my mind was, man, this is a great webinar, but how much cooler would it be if I'm walking through a house with Michael and he's pointing out down to the forks and knives how he views an Airbnb, how he budgets for buying, how he designs, all of those things. And so a shout out to Michael McKay, because we're going to probably be enlisting him. But those are the kinds of classes that I think are relevant, right? I think it's real important. If you got to spend a Saturday or 2 or 3 with a guy like Michael, think about how much easier you could get an Airbnb business up and running based on his expertise, right? That's worth the price of gold to me.
So now that you opened the door with Mike McKay, it's when he listens to this, I'm sure he'll laugh. But Mike is another test case example of he heard about the Yellowbird group, and I think he heard about the online thing here in Jacksonville. And I remember we all logged in because we still couldn't meet in person. Everybody logged in. It was about 35, 40 people, and everybody was jumping in the little Remo rooms. And I think Mike had jumped on. He was like, "Hey, I'm Mike. I'm from New Jersey. I'm going to come down." And then it became like in the room, the Owl Show, that he wanted to know who I was. And then we connected. And when I met Mike, I had no idea he was moving down permanently, but he was coming down here, moving to Jacksonville. And I remember sitting down with Mike, and he moved really fast, right? I think in the span of like 2 months, he was like, "I'm here, I'm ready, like, let's go." And when I sat down with him, he was telling me how, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be speaking and doing something Airbnb tomorrow. Oh, by the way, do you have any, people that this stuff?" And I was thinking, wow, this is amazing, Mike, because we have to give these people a platform. We have to have this education.
Absolutely.
You have to not just have the same person over. You have to have that diverse group with Airbnb, because that's really unique. Short-term rentals is not something that's been around the REIA. So shout out, Mike McKay. I mean, that's amazing how he came in, jumped in, and now is going to be a part of it. But that's just another example, Mike. I mean, amazing guy that can do these things, and you're going to bring him in for the curriculum. By the way, you were pointing out you kind of have those specifics. So can you name them, just in case everybody's out there listening to this and it's like, "Oh, I want to be a part of that." So you said wholesaling, rehabbing. What else was there? Flipping. I don't know if it's the same thing.
Yeah. So we again, we'll talk to Gonzalo about helping us create a wholesaling academy, but we'll have a wholesaling academy, a flipping academy, a buy, hold, and rent. And that'll have a property management component, right? So buy, hold, and rent is one aspect of it, but then property management's another academy all in of itself. And if you saw the webinar we had with Clay Jones in property management, I mean, just a wealth of information, right? So great stuff there. So we'll do those, Airbnb, building new construction, all of those types of things. And there'll be more, but those are typically probably, I think, the top 5 for now that we're going to focus on. So there's only 5 academies. I think if you, poor Luis, she's looking at this going, "Oh, only 5 academies once a quarter. That's only 20 times a year. I got to figure out how to put this on." We'll get it done though. We're excited.
Yeah. And I think that's another aspect, right? Because the ideas are great, and I know it's going to be implemented with you as president. That's no doubt. It's going to happen, and maintaining it. But it does take a team. I mean, Luis has been there for what, 30 years and seen it all. So when she says things like that, it's like, all right, so we all have to do our part. And that's so hard as a group, right? Counting on everybody to hold and do it together and blast the info out there. Make sure all the cups and the forks and all the materials printed out and stapled. It's a whole team effort. And what are your, because people want to do groups out there. And I have to tell you, Mike, I love this whole hands-on thing, right? Because it's not just, "Hey, here's my business card. What do you do?" This is like, "Come with me. Let's do this" kind of thing. And you can see it because a lot of people are contextual. They need to do it. They need to do the task to be able to go, "Okay, I could do this thing."
Right.
How are you all going to make this happen together? Like, what are those internal workings as a group that you've all had? Like, you're doing this, you're doing that. What are the steps?
That's a big question. So remember, I told you that over the course of this year, we went from meeting once a month to meeting every week. And we decided that we're going to take the week of Christmas off.
I don't blame you.
But we're getting back to it next Monday. But to answer your question, so the board is expanded. We picked up 2 additional members in Tim Tucker and Lori Wall. And you're 100% correct. First of all, there's no one person that could pull off, this revamp, this rebrand, this makeover, whatever you want to call it that fits the term. And every board member has been committed and is playing a role. So we've kind of broken it into, you know how you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right?
Right.
So we've all kind of, we've developed committees. We have team captains for those committees. So we know, for example, on the marketing, we've got to get better at outreach and bringing new members in. We have, and that's Lori Wall, she has some certain expertise there. And we're working with Cody as well. Adam, she's come in and consulted with us, which has been great.
I love Cody.
Because we have gaps, right? We don't know everything, but we're learning. You've got, Nazreen, who's a great MC, who she may or may not know this, but she's the events captain.
All right. She just got designated. There she goes.
Well, she's gotten designated. She hasn't officially accepted, but we're just going to shame her into it, I guess. But Jim Tuttle, on finance, and then we have something that we haven't talked about in Strike Zone, which we'll get to. So there's more stuff that we're rolling out.
We see, the thing is, Mike, we really need to hear this stuff, because us as a community, and we were talking about this backstage. I think what happened with JAX REIA is like what you said. People would start and then it would kind of fade, and it's like the new shiny object. But you're gearing it back to JAX REIA now, because it's like, hey, well, no, we got this program, we got that program, and we need to know what these programs are. Strike Zone, that's such a unique name for, I don't even know what it means. I'm excited to hear what that is. I feel like I'm in a batting cage or something. I'm going to strike out, So we have to hear this. So people out there, when they either hear the full length or the micro, they're going to go, wait a second, that's what is that program? That's what they're doing now. We need to be a part of it. And me as a corporate sponsor, like, I love the fact that for me, what does it is I can do the speaking things, I can do the boot camps, and I'm happy, because that to me is helping give back. It's always like, hey, nope, I'm doing it. So we have to know that stuff. So I don't know, whenever you want to dive in, I don't know what your point was, but I just wanted to say that. I think it's important.
No, that's good. This makeover, there's a lot of moving parts. Let's, it's not a small undertaking. I think, you're right on the mark when you say that. And I know you told me that I needed to work this in. So let's just say it's 2021. It's giddy up time, right?
There we go. We had to get that in, because it's true.
Yes. I got my Baker Mayfield bet won, so I don't have to work any new quotes into the conversation. So we're good. And for those of you out there, that was a football reference. Look it up if you didn't know what it meant. So, man, there's a lot to cover in that question, in that statement. So let me kind of tell you a little bit. We've talked about there's a new website coming. There's new education, a new curriculum coming. There's new academies. Within that curriculum, there's also other opportunities just to simply network. Things as simple as having a book club. That may sound simple, but for somebody who may even be an experienced investor, to come in and maybe take a book over like the E-Myth Revisited and be part of the book club, right? And to help people set their businesses up. That's huge. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're going to have cash flow game nights where people can come in and play cash flow. These are low key, low pressure environments where all we're trying to do is expose people to, the idea of passive income, right? Whether that means investing in real estate or whatever, but we want to, our number one goal, as I told you before, we've got to increase our membership base. To do that, we have to be relevant. To do that, we've got to provide opportunities and content and those types of things. And so everything is centered around that. So the website, the education, the curriculum, the academies, all that's coming. There's one more piece to this. And you said you were going to ask me a hard question, and I'm going to hit it before you do.
Okay.
The REIA in the past, as we said, the model for a REIA, and maybe I'm going to get in trouble with people because I'm opening up the door, but the model for a real estate investor association in terms of staying afloat and being relevant and making income is not just the membership, right? There have to be other revenue sources, because if you think about it, look at our expense base, right? When we, to host a website, to have an executive director and Luis on salary, to host meeting events at hotels and to host them at offsite places, all of these things cost money. And as generous as our board is, these things don't come out of our pocket. They come out of the operating budget of the Real Estate Investor Association. Well, the lifeblood of that is a member. So we need to increase our membership. And if you look around at other areas, I mean, we've hovered around 500 members, but there's no reason we shouldn't have 2,000, 3,000, or 4,000 members as part of our JAX REIA organization. That's just legit, and that's probably shooting low. But there's no reason not to have that, right? So now I'm going to go into how do we provide relevance. Well, we talked about our past was every month we have main monthly meeting. Part of that main monthly meeting is we bring in a national guru or a speaker from somewhere across the country that's going to speak on some topic that they're an expert in. And their goal is to sell a Saturday class and then subsequently a boot camp. And you know it, I know it. I don't get real comfortable in those meetings because I don't like it when I feel like I'm being sold, and I'm being sold all the time. The fact of the matter is that's how the REIA operated for 25 years plus. And so it's hard to kind of break that mold and go a different direction, right? When your organization has been around for this long, that's a hard thing to break. But that's exactly what we're trying to break or free ourselves from, of having to bring in a speaker who's going to generate revenue so that we can stay in business. That's right. It.
The guy that's like, for $10,000 you could sign up today, but if you go to the back of the room, if in the first 5 minutes it's 5,000, but if you're the first one that signs up, it's 2,000. And you're right. I was going to bring this up, but we hadn't even gotten there. But yeah, this was a problem, and I think as soon as that pitch happened, I remember people were dropping out of the room like flies. I mean, Absolutely. They were out, and it was. I think what I liked was when I saw people like Randy Houzz, he was doing the land trust stuff. I don't know if he had a pitch or not, but when he was doing the land trust, I thought it was really interesting, but then it was always the same pitch. So how are you doing away with that? Because you're saying it's a hard mold to break. 30 years, this is the way it operated. Well, I do know how you're going to do it because you have these academies and this hands-on, the new curriculum, the specialized, like how can we help you and make it happen? But how are you breaking that mold even in the meetings? I mean, tell us as much as you can. It's not breaking internal stuff.
No, and again, if hey, I think I've always shot straight. People know in that board, they know exactly where I stand on these issues. So I'm not saying anything that anybody hasn't heard already, but I thought that was a detriment to our relevance to continue in that environment. I thought it was a dying mold for the business. Not that those people don't have their place. Let me be clear. But the thing is if you're talking to a new member to real estate and you're going to have them spend $10,000 to go invest in real estate, or 15 or 20 or 3, how are we tracking their results as an organization, right? Because once the check hits the bank account, we don't know what kind of success they have or if they don't. But the success I think that we see or don't is how people vote with their feet. And as you mentioned, they get up and they leave the room, or they get that look on their face. And I'm that guy. I'm the guy that as soon as you start pitching $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 type of deal, I'm walking out of the room. And hey, guess what? I've been one who has paid for something like that and never felt like I got the value out of what I paid for. So, and I've done it more than once. I'm admitting something to everybody, right? So, hey, look, we've all been there and done that. But the idea behind that is, we want to bring people that if they're going to sell something, it's reasonably priced product and it's a relevant product that we know many people can get value out of, that we could potentially track. A book, that's one thing, right? But a $7,000 or a $10,000 boot camp, that's a different story, right? So so that begs the question, and the ultimate question is, how do we replace that revenue? Because that revenue was the lifeblood of the JAX REIA. The membership, when you look at it, it's $299 to be a member for the first year. We had some debates. second and subsequent years, you used to have a tiered membership. It used to go $299, $199, $99. And the question that came up in the room was, what do I get from year 1 to year 2 that is a difference in value from year 2 to year 3? And the answer was really nothing.
Loyalty.
So what we all decided to do was have a 2-tiered membership. First year member is $299 because there is a bigger investment in the curriculum and in bringing those people into the real estate community, right? But year 2 and every year thereafter is simply $99. That's not a lot of money. That's $8.33 a month to be a member. We still have to generate revenue, which some those classes will do, hopefully at a much lower price point than what, that's the goal here, right? It's real value. Can I see shelling out $400 or $500 to be a part of a flipping academy? Sure. Do I want to shell out 10 grand? No. So those are some of the internal arguments, but there is one thing that it'll be really important that we get traction on this, because we've enlisted the help of a software company, and we have created a software program exclusive to JAX REIA. And it is very relevant for a real estate investor's business operation. If you look at the different software programs that are out there for lead generation or for CRMs, one of the things that we discovered was a lot of people have multiple programs to run their real estate business. So if I want to buy leads, I go download leads from this place. If I want to put them into a CRM and do mailing and do that kind of thing, I have to do that at another place. And if I want to do something else to it, or text or voicemail, or I want to do skip tracing or that kind of thing. So we looked at the business in general. We said, what are some things that are kind of common that every investor really needs? And we came up with this software called Strike Zone. So Strike Zone is a piece of software that, as an investor, it's a one-stop shop for your real estate office. It is one place to go and pull hyper-targeted leads. As an example, if I'm Al Nicoletti, I can go in and I say, I want every probate lead in this. You can define it by neighborhood or by street, by zip code, whatever, by age. But the coolest part is that you can kind of hyperlink these things together. So if I wanted to say, I want every property that's 65 or older, 10 years or more ownership, and they're all out of state, I can pull that list relevant to these 5 counties. I can skip trace that list in one place. I can upload it to my CRM. I can send it for direct mail. I can do text marketing or ringless voicemail marketing, all in one place. And so the idea behind this piece of software is to create an office for a real estate investor that they can subscribe to and use, that they need one login to come to every day. And subsequently, they can make deals, they can use contracts from our website, they can upload deals to the website. And so Strike Zone is a really big piece to replacing that revenue from the speakers. But I think one thing that I'd like for you to know from that is, we're not replacing it with something that doesn't have value, right? This is a very valuable tool for a real estate investor to use, and it's priced very well. So that'll be rolling out.
So JAXREIA is unraveling and rolling out a new technology exclusive to JAXREIA that is going to give this massive database of everything that all these investors, realtors are looking for by criteria and filters, basically. And it's going to be, because everybody's going after something different. Maybe some people are going after just the people that just bought a home, or the price is like 250 to 300 because some reason those people sell. I don't know. But what you're telling me is that now this is a brand new resource and benefit by being a member, and benefit by because when you were talking about the tiered system, the only thing that I thought of was maybe the reason they did it from $299 to $99 over 3 years was that if you stayed with REIA, it was a loyalty program basically, and you're going to get the same value, but we know we got you, but we're going to keep you here because we're going to, right? But now offering these tools and resources is going to be instrumental, because I feel like that kind of software is going to keep people around, right?
That's the goal.
That's the goal. And as long as you're a member, you get the access. You get the access. You have everything that you need at your fingertips, and you're going to be able to do the things that you want. So it provides that avenue. So Strike Zone, right? Strike Zone, not Strike Force.
Yeah, no, Strike Zone. And just to be clear, so we'll allow people who are non-members to buy a subscription to the software. That's not a problem. But I will say this, the way that it's priced, it'll make a hell of a lot more sense to be a member and use that software, based on our membership price, right? In other words, we're no dummies.
Right. So, people are just going to use the program, right? That's
right,
it.
Right. And that's fine. But become a member, because there might be some other benefits there will be other benefits that you will get. You just may not be coming to us for them today, right? That software, it's exciting to see. We'll have a rollout, kind of a soft rollout of that in January, where you'll be able to see it in a presentation. You'll be able to see how it works and how it's actually put into practice, depending upon different ways that you want to invest in real estate, whether you're wholesale and flipping, buying and holding, whatever. And then in March, that will roll out in earnest. And we've made a significant investment in that. But I think, again, what I want people to know, we don't exist out of the goodness of our heart. We don't pull the pocket. The purse strings for running an organization doesn't come from the board. It comes from our business operation. I think distinguishing between actually trying to act like a business and what we've been in the past is the big makeover, right? So we're treating ourselves as, how do we make ourselves a relevant business for a real estate investor? That's it.
And the fresh ideas of the book club and the cash flow game idea is brilliant ideas to keep. It's because it's not just real estate at that point, right? It's like bringing real estate people though together to talk about different ideas and viewpoints on, what did they think about this book? Or right, you're showing the potential of a game without really putting your real money in it. And it's like, well, now that you got a taste of that, maybe you want to do some of the investing now. Super innovative, fresh ideas that REIA is doing. I think there was one meeting. I don't know if it was a quick start. Oh, it was an open mic night. There was an open mic night, like I think last year, and I went. There was very few people. Or we'll get to open mic nights. I don't know if they're still happening anymore. So there's so much to talk about, Mike. I'm like, there's so many things going on in my head. But there was an open mic night. There was one guy, I can't remember his name, and I think he raised his hand and to ask Steve Potash about, what's the REIA doing, and I think he said, can we all do a cash flow game night? And at the time, everyone was like looking around like, and nothing was happening. And look at that. Now the bright idea has come to light. It's happening. And that's amazing. It's amazing.
See, that might've been the incubator, believe it or not. I don't know that I heard that, but yeah, I mean, yes, those 100%. And also to make a point, we're still continuing the meetups that are, the networking meetups that happen outside of the main office at JAXREIA. There's places like the Mandarin and the Orange Park, and, places that may have a little more difficulty getting into, those meetings, but we still have those meetings being run on meetups. And so those will continue. And hopefully, again, they'll bring relevance. That's kind of the charge, is that, with everything that we do, we want to bring relevance to what it is that we're doing, right?
Absolutely. You have to. If you don't stay relevant, you lose it.
You die.
You have to be in front of people all the time, and you have to provide value. You always provide value back to the community and back to the people. But yeah, Mike, I mean, all this is great. Are there any other tidbits that you could provide? I mean, you're like, oh, there's a whole list. There's a whole thing going on here. Any other big tidbits that you can provide the people listening out there that were members, are members, or want to become members, because you have the seasoned people that 10 years ago, oh yeah, JAXREIA, oh yeah, I've heard of it, that don't have the same feeling I do, where it's like, hey, if I could speak and I could do boot camps, we're good. So any other different types of tips and programs?
Oh my word. I don't know, my man. Counselor, we've covered it all, I think. I think I've shot my gun. I've unloaded all the bullets, unfortunately. I wish there was more that I could say, but again, it gets back to, if you think about the REIA itself, we're a nonprofit organization, and we don't exist without membership. We don't exist without revenue. You know, it's not about, gee, let's make $1 million. It's about let's be a relevant organization so that people feel like this is where they need to be, whether they're experienced or they're brand new. We want you back, right? We want you to come back if you're experienced, and if you're brand new, come on in and see it. And again, for the corporate sponsors, you know, we're changing that program too, to make it more relevant, to try and do more business, promote you more. And we haven't talked about the meeting formats. We talked a little bit about case studies, but you know, as an example, once a quarter, we do the trade show once a year, and we're going to keep that on the books, right?
You have to. You have to, because that's a great one.
Absolutely. And once a quarter, though, we're going to do like what's called like vendor palooza, right? So where we're highlighting our vendors, whether it be in panels or whether it be in individual discussion tables, but it's all about the vendor, you know, that night. We might have a small presentation after that, but those types of things are coming. And the idea is even bringing more relevance for a corporate sponsor. So if you're somebody out there that serves the real estate community, right? We need you to be a part of what we're doing, because, you know, it's not just about putting your name up there and paying for a listing. It's about, you know, providing relevance and providing contents and providing what you know to this real estate community, because we can't do it all. We got a lot of expertise in the room, but we got to tap it everywhere that we can. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that I'm excited about. I just think when we look back at the end of 2021, it isn't going to be perfect, okay? Because there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of moving parts, and I'm sure, you know, just like anything else, we may fall short of a mark here or there, but we're not going to fall that short. And what'll be cool is that we're laying the groundwork for what's going to happen in 2022 and beyond with this organization. And that's what excites me the most, right? There's just so much to do.
So you did have some more ammo in the shotgun, because you said vendor palooza. I mean, that's super important, because it's not just investors and realtors. There are actual servicing companies. I mean, plumbers,
Sure, 100%.
construction suppliers. I mean, people out there that are just different, and they provide a service instead of just like, hey, we're investing and we're doing the rehab. So vendor palooza sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to see that. See, there's more ideas, and these are different. These are what people want. They want these fun things that are going to be unique and different. And absolutely, you have to keep the trade show.
Well, oh yeah, no, 100%. That was kind of a non-negotiable. This might be a new thing, but what's been twisting around in my mind is doing the trade show with a golf tournament or something to raise some funds for a charity and that kind of thing. Really keep it fun, you know, keep it lighthearted. But that may have to be put off till 2022, because this board has worked really hard. When I really don't know that anybody can appreciate, you know, there's no one single person on this board that sacrificed more or less. Every one of these individuals has put in just a ton of time to really make this thing go, right? So make sure you do provide us your feedback. Make sure you are giving us relevant feedback on how we can do things better and how we can make the REIA better, because that's what this is about. It's not about us, it's about you. So.
Well, Mike, I just want to say, you know, you and I could keep going on and on and on about new ideas and things, but I want to tell you, in the realm of the show and the podcast, you provided so much insight and content about what is to come, what we're going to see, and what you want from the people out there, the investors, to give back. And tell us what you want. We're going to keep doing, we're going to keep moving. It's not going anywhere. We got out of the corner. Now we're in the ring. So I really appreciate that. And I was, again, so happy to hear that you were going to become JAX REIA president. It was a big surprise to me. You didn't say a thing. And I had no idea it was coming, but I knew just from things we've discussed that things were getting moving, right? But I'm so happy that you are there. You're shaking the tree. Things are going to move. And, you know, you're telling people to reach out to me. So thank you for that. I mean, this is valuable. I'm always going to be a corporate sponsor. I'm not going anywhere, you know? So you got me, or unless you want to put me on the tier system, I'll take the discount next year. Right. I don't know if that's going away, but no, I think at the end of the day, what you're doing here and providing things to people is so important. So if anybody wants to reach you, Mike, whether it's, because you are the loan master, you are the private Fannie Mae, Freddie, you are the loan master. How do people get a hold of you? How do people reach out to you so that, if they're watching this and they're saying, wait a second, I really like this Mike Grandjean guy. And he was telling me, I really want to tell you what I want and I'm looking for. How can they get a hold of you? And, basically that.
Oh, that's cool. Before I give them that, I'm just going to say thank you for thinking or saying about me, but I really can't stress enough. It's been a collective effort. So I'm not going to take any credit for what's going on other than the fact that the entire board has worked hard to make this a reality and to make these changes. And, because we all have to agree on the direction that we're going. So, and Nazreen did an awesome job this last year. She's going to continue to be the MC of ceremonies because I have a face made for radio, as you can see.
You do.
But everybody's been really great. So I say thank them. And really the board has just worked really hard. Now, as far as getting in touch with me directly, currently my phone number is 281-299-6124. That's a Houston number, but I live here in Jacksonville. I'm a block and a half off the beach. Matter of fact, when we're done here, I'm going to walk Abigail Hershey in a little bit.
Okay, there you go.
And they get to go put their toes in the sand.
They're going to look for the Airbnb house. Don't worry.
Yes, we're going to look for Michael McKay on the Airbnb house.
Right.
So email is a little bit harder to spell. So I'll say it and then spell it for you. But my email address is dealdesk@Fast Houzz Funding. And it's the house in Fast Houzz is spelled Houzz. So it's dealdesk@Fast Houzz, FASTHOUZZ funding.com. That's it.
And you're right, Mike.
What's that?
You're right. Thank you, JAX REIA and the whole board and Nazreen for spearheading this year of 2020 because nobody expected it. And it was just such a wacky year for her to be president because it's like, how do you do anything with what happened in the climate we were in? And so you're right. And the whole board has been on it. Jim, Rosemary, Steve Carter. There's so many people on there. And it's great that you have Lori, you have Sue. I'm probably leaving some people out. I'm just going back in my photographic memory.
You're doing good so far. So yeah, you've got Nazreen was the president. Rosemary was the vice president. Jim Tuttle, I was secretary. Jim Tuttle was treasurer. Then we had Lyle Carmody. Lyle drives up. Lyle's an adamant and a voice for the folks in Palm Coast and Volusia County. You have Stephen Carter, John Fears. John is, former Navy pilot, been investing for a while, got great insight to give. Sue Lim, Stephen Carter, and then we've added Lori Wall and Tim Tucker. And of course, you just can't forget the enigmatic Louise McKinley.
Louise, yes.
Yeah, she's the executive director. Doesn't hold a board position, but she's the executive director. So she carries out all of the stuff that comes. So think, from meeting once a week. We've put a workload on her to carry out a lot of new stuff and keeping notes and keeping us within the bylaws and the frames of what we're doing. So it's a dynamic board. It works really well. I'm excited to see what we do this year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great to see what happens because as soon as January 1 hits, I don't know. I stood up the other night. I'm all in. So I know JAXREIA is just going to go in a great direction and a new direction. And it's going to be so refreshing to see. I can't wait to be a part of it. I know you're ready to go. And again, yeah, Luis and the whole board and Steve Potash. Yeah, he's there. And Lyle's great. Yeah. So you have a great crew of people. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just a great crew that you have there, Mike. So, yeah. And then you're at the helm right now and Luis is right there with you. So you have a bright path ahead. And again, Mike Grandjean, thank you so much for coming on. People are going to get such great value from this. And I can't wait till this is put out and everybody can hear, wait, this is what's going on at JAXREIA. Wait, I'm excited. When are we doing the strike zone? I'm ready for Vendor Palooza. That's going to be the one I'm looking for. So thanks again, Mike, for coming on my show. I loved it. And I love talking with you.
Well, that's back at you, brother. Thank you, counselor, for having us on. Remember, you wanted me to say it, 2021, it's giddy up time. Let's go.
And you heard it there first from Mike Grandjean. So Mike, thank you so much again for coming on the show. Hey, everybody, if you want more content like this, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel. I have content on probate, quiet titles, partition, and of course, I'm going to have this podcast show with Mike Grandjean talking about the new Revamp JAX REIA, the dinosaur that was, that isn't anymore, and it's going to be coming out and roaring, and it's going to be so exciting to see. And you can see many of my other podcast episodes with investors, realtors, title companies, a whole slew and a whole portfolio of different interviews that you will really enjoy. So I will see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.